your thoughts on this because we've been covering this a lot. Like it's so unbelievable. I'm still shocked to this day, like how far I have dubbed the NATO left, how far they're willing to be PR tools for imperialism. And Jimmy, I want to get your thoughts on this because there's some people still gets it wrong. They still think that Bernie, AOC are there doing their best. They're trying their best to represent us. They may have bad strategies. They may be losing. My take is these people are active agents of the imperial machine, active PR agents of Joe Biden, and must be resisted. Now you have people that's trying to do the same thing again. We already spent $100 million on Bernie Sanders, and they want to do it again. So I want to get your thoughts on these two things, like your take on Bernie, his take on Ukraine recently, the strategy that people still have of shifting this party, like the Democratic Party has shifted so far to the right under Joe Biden, but they're still trying that strategy. So what your take on people who still believe in that and still believe that Bernie and AOC are good faith actors?
There's no doubt that Bernie knows that if he opposes the empire and imperialism, that they'll do to him what they did to Trump, what they will do to anybody who imposes that, what they did to Ralph Nader. And he's not willing to. The only difference is Ralph Nader didn't have any power. Bernie actually is elected, and he actually has power, and he actually has a huge following that are willing to do what he directs them to do, except he did just like Barack Obama. He disbanded his own following. He asked them to do nothing ever except give them money. So Bernie Sanders is now a war pig. Not only does he lie about the war, its origins, what the point of it is, and give credence to the liars, people implementing this war, the imperialists. Not only that, he's voting to fund it. So that's unforgivable. So you can't be a war pig and call yourself any kind of a lefty if you're for the slaughter of people for imperialism, which is what he's there for. And it just goes to show you that he's willing to roll over on anything. He just put out a video about that actor who's probably going to win the Academy Award tomorrow night, that Asian actor from All at Once, Everywhere, whatever that movie is. And so he talks about how he lost his health insurance because he couldn't get hired in Hollywood. And Bernie Sanders tweets out that video. And at the end, I didn't know it was Bernie Sanders. I was just watching the video, and at the end it said Bernie Sanders. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. He's back to pretending to give a shit about Medicare for all. Like, I think he does. And if he could, without having to risk or use his leverage or
don't want to work for it
off or take any slings or arrows, I think he would implement Medicare for all, right? Yeah, but if he has to fight for it, or if he has to stand up against the empire and he's not going to do it. And so he didn't. So Joe Biden got elected. He didn't. He stopped talking about Medicare for all immediately. He stopped talking about revolution after 2016. He used to start every speech with, sounds like you're ready for a revolution. That got over. That's over. And so he's not for a revolution. He's for funneling that revolutionary energy back into that anti-worker, pro-war party, because Bernie's pro-war, and he's proving it by voting for it. Also, he won't make anybody. They can't even hold him accountable for East Palestine, for F's sake. He won't do anything. So what they've done is when the Democratic Party decided to turn their back on the working class, which is what they did. When I had I had a Boogaloo Boy on my show, and the guy was pro-LGBTQ, pro-Black Lives Matter, anti-Trump, anti-cop, anti-war, except he was a gun. Those were people who were voting Democrat 25, 30 years ago. And that's the conversation, because he's a working class. And he couldn't get a job because of the oppression of the lockdown. So he was being oppressed just like everybody else. And he came together with anybody that would want to join together. And he said, we got more in common than divides us. And so I forget what the fucking point of this was, because I'm high.
You were talking about because they got mad at you for having a Boogaloo Boy. And to that point, they just hate organizing in general. I was at the.
They don't look exactly, because so that was when you can't have people organizing along class lines, which is what Bernie should be doing. right? And just like right now, the progressives just let a press release go out through Ryan Grimm that they joined with Matt Gaetz to try to end the war in Syria, which is great. But I had to remind everybody, they don't agree on LGBTQ rights. And how dare you work with someone to end a war? I thought that was bad and wrong. And that was endorsing every bad thing about Matt Gaetz if you worked with him to end a war. Of course, that's not. But you're exactly right, Nick, when you say they are against any kind of organizing of any kind, right? And that's why you don't see where is the propping up of Christian Smalls going, right? Where is he being propped up and his example, right? And so again, the way you organize is along class lines because they're being all they have left. Oh, I remember what it is that when the Democrats turned their backs on people like that guy, that Boogaloo boy, they didn't have nowhere to go. And instead, and so then they're not going to, like Chuck Schumer said, he goes, for every blue collar worker we lose in the city, we're going to pick up 2 white collar voters in the suburbs. He said that in 2016. Well, he was wrong. They still lost to Trump, right? Even though they turned their back on blue collar workers, which they did, and now they've got nowhere to go. So what do? They double down on identity politics, and that's all they talk about. So that's why they're hyper focused on LGBTQ rights. They're hyper focused on calling everybody a white supremacist or a right winger, just because they disagree with they're calling Russell Brand that now, right?
Russell Brand is a right winger.
What?
You're a right winger.
I haven't heard that.
All these people are right wingers as Joe Biden is funding ICE to historic levels. As the Democrats is funding the police more, they calling other people right wingers. But go ahead, Jimmy, finish your point.
And here's the thing that people don't realize: what they did to Trump, right? Hey, you know me, I'm no fan of fucking Trump. Donald Trump is a loudmouth Yankee who should have had his ass kicked a long time ago, in the words of my friend Nick Smith, who is a Waffle House cook in Virginia. Okay, but the Democrats gave those people nothing to vote for, right? So when the Democrats turned their back on workers, that's what it was all. And what they did to Donald Trump, they would have done to Bernie Sanders. They started to do it to him when he won in a couple of primaries. They started immediately russiagating him. And Bernie Sanders, instead of turning around and blowing up that narrative, he forwarded it. Him and his advisors forwarded Russiagate, which we always said was going to be used against him. He didn't care. That's how big of a spineless coward he is. He was willing to shoot his own campaign in the foot to push a narrative he knows is false, just because he doesn't have the balls to go up against the establishment the way he should. And that's why nothing he wants to do ever gets done.